In the beginning, Shrek met Donkey.
Ah, thank you! No! This is gonna be fun. We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles.
Gotcha!
Then he saved Fiona.
What kind of knight are you?
One of a kind.
He met the parents.
You can do this.
But I really
don't
want to be here.
And befriended Puss in Boots.
Hey, look, a little cat.
Look out, Shrek!
He made Artie a king
It's yours if you want it, you know.
and became a loving father.
I smell Shrek Jr.
Whoa!
And in the final chapter, his world flipped upside down.
It's me, your best friend.
I've never seen you before in my life.
Do I know you?
Scott?
Shrek, actually.
But through it all, he continued to win us over with that classic ogre charm. Join us as we shine the spotlight on one of the most beloved animated characters of all time.
Thank you very much. I'm here till Thursday. Great. Let's get started. I have loved doing Shrek. I love the character. It's been a great experience. And I love the message. You are beautiful, who you are, and you know, Shrek has to constantly learn the lesson that he has to love himself.
Well, you know what I like about you, Shrek? You got that kind of, I don't care what nobody thinks of me thing. I like that. I respect that.
I always say that Shrek is the Tony Soprano for kids because he's a character that's allowed to be frustrated and angry, but at the same time he's very funny and he's very charming.
Can't we just settle this over a pint?
Shrek is just universal and timeless, and everyone, no matter who you are in life, has experienced feeling like the outsider. And Shrek is the quintessential outsider.
What you got against the whole world anyway, huh?
Look, I'm not the one with the problem, okay? It's the world that seems to have a problem with me.
Shrek's every man. I think he's every person. I think we all wish we were more handsome, less smelly, cuter, taller, skinnier. And so I do think that he does sort of represent each and every one of us in terms of who he is and what he wants to be.
I'm an ogre. You know, grab your torch and pitchforks. Doesn't that bother you?
Nope.
Even though he's not the character that necessarily has the most laughs and the funniest lines, he's the character that grounds the entire series. And you know, I think it's his emotional journey throughout the films that I really identify with.
You know what the best part of today was? I got the chance to fall in love with you all over again.
Ultimately, he lets the walls down and accepts who he is. And when he does that, he finds true love. He's rewarded for taking those walls down. It's a very powerful allegory.
I was hoping this would be a happy ending.
I ran into Jeffrey Katzenberg at the premiere of Saving Private Ryan, and he came over to me and said, "Are you interested in doing animation?" And I went home and I thought, I'm going to have to write an animated movie. I had no idea I was being offered a job. Next day I got a call from him saying there's this fairy tale called Shrek. And I was like, Shrek, can you change the name? He goes, no, we're quite confident. And so I thought, always listen to Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Ogres are like onions.
Good. And then he told me the message of the film, which is that you're already beautiful. Don't let other people tell you you're not. And I thought, when I have grandkids, that's the sort of well-told, silly, fun fairy tale I want to take them to. Then he said, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, and John Lithgow are in it. And so I said, well, then I'm in.
Now, ogres, oh, they're much worse. They'll shave your liver, squeeze the jelly from your eyes. Actually, it's quite good on toast.
Mike brings to Shrek, basically. I mean, I can't separate the two. Mike is Shrek.
Here's persuasion, and here's reason.
Mike gives a lot. He's very emotionally invested in the character of Shrek. He looks out for Shrek. Mike brings a lot more than just a performance.
He knows Shrek personally inside his head. So, you know, if we have a question about his character, he really knows where he's coming from.
You don't want to see me angry, do you?
Mike comes in with notes on the story. You know, Mike's a writer. He comes in with story notes that are brilliant. It's incredibly fun when you're recording with him, and between takes, he's staying in character. So all of a sudden, he's making fun of you, and he's staying as Shrek, and it's Shrek that's making fun of you, not Mike.
You're coming up with stuff to kind of scare them off that ogres are worse than giants.
Ogres are worse than giants.
Than giants.
Fabulous.
Mike is at his best when he can create a character and step into it. And when you cast Mike Myers in a role, I don't think you get Mike Myers, you get one of this plethora of characters that Mike Myers is or can create.
Better out than in, I always say. It's a gift.
The thing that was incredible about Mike, you know, when we cast him for his original voice. And we recorded the movie and started animating it and using his voice. And I showed him the movie when it was up on the reels for the first time. And when the lights came up, he said to me, you know, Jeffrey, I have to say, I love this movie. It's a privilege to be in it. I think you've made something that is classic. I'm proud to be a part of it. Eddie's brilliant, Cameron's brilliant, John's brilliant, and I'm boring. And he said, I want you to give me a chance to create a voice that in that character, now that I understand the movie, now I can see what it has, the whole movie. And Mike said, I can give you something much better. Let me create something for you.
Come on, donkey, I'm right here beside you, okay? I just felt it was missing something, and I think what was missing was the connection to my childhood. Because my experience growing up as a kid in Canada was of immigrant parents from Liverpool, they'd been there for 20 years. So that accent, a lot of the corners had been rounded off. And I felt that it was important to not focus on the accent so much, but on the spirit of being a little kid and having the stories read to you. You were expecting Prince Charming? And in having Shrek be British, I could have a connection to my British childhood. And I asked them if they wouldn't mind if I could do it again with that connection. And they graciously and generously allowed me to do that. And I really feel that I got to dig into sort of the little kid part, you know, that's important for a fairy tale.
Oh yes, it's an enchanted forest.
There's something that is noble about it and timeless about it. And then, you know, with his sort of wicked sense of humor, you know, and his little twist on it, it just worked.
Let me put it this way, Princess. Men of Farquaad's stature are in short supply. And I got a wonderful letter from Steven Spielberg saying, Dear Mike, thank you so much for caring, and thank you so much for insisting on it being better. And later on, I found out how much they'd spent on it. Ouch. But I wish they'd told you, but they didn't. And in many ways, I guess I'm glad they didn't.
What Mike did is that he understood and saw the heart and soul of the character of Shrek and created a voice, which we then molded our physical character around that voice and then gave it life. And the wonderful qualities and lovability of that character, because, you know, certainly to look at, he is no dreamboat.
Hey, you!
But what Mike did is both the words and the way he made those words come to life gave Shrek his heart.
One of a kind.
There you go, that's the one.
Originally, they were thinking about doing Shrek as computer-generated characters over a live-action background, which was actually going to be models and miniatures shot on the stage.
Can somebody come in here and work on Shrek, please?
Shrek's character had to be changed many, many, many times. And there was a long period of development, many different stages of different character design. And that's the thing that many people don't get, is just how incredibly sort of time-consuming it is. When you think, oh, go design a character, it has to be appealing, it has to be unusual, it has to be physically doable. You know, on the computer, you've got to have the technology to be able to do it. And it's got to feel like it will live for a long time. And it's a tall order.
You're not exactly what I expected.
The thing that sort of pushed us over the edge on this film toward making it finally what it ended up becoming was realizing we wanted to make a film that we liked, and tried to sort of shut out the voices that said, it's got to be this, it's got to be that.
And stand!
Like, what do we like? What makes us laugh? That gave us the freedom to make it, I think.
We've had a lot of time to plan this, haven't you?
At the very beginning, actually, it was really tough for us to find the style of animation with the characters that work for this movie. We went through a period of 3 to 6 months just to come up with the look of how they should move. We did test that the characters are more cartoony, and also we did test that the characters are more theatrical.
Whoa, Shrek! You didn't tell us you were in a play?
And then we realized we need a style that fit the movie somewhere between theatrical and realistic.
The princess here was just...
I think the animation is somewhere between an animated cartoon and live action. There's moments even when I'm looking at the characters where I forget that they're animated characters. There's expressions that the characters get where at times I just look at them and I believe that they're real people. I believe that they have real feelings.
Shrek, hold still! Ooh! Ooh! Did I miss?
No.
The thing about Shrek is that at the bottom of it, they're still all stories about us, and I think that's what's so cool about the Shrek franchise. If you look at all the stories, every single film is basically a story about him making his own mess and cleaning it up.
Ah!
But, you know, like most of us, it takes a long, long time.
Fiona!
Where did we find that guy?
In Shrek 1, Shrek was an ogre who had to learn how to love himself and learn that people actually can love an ogre for who he is. In Shrek 2, he had to learn how to be part of a family. And in Shrek 3, he had to learn how to accept responsibility. So we looked at his journey in life, compared it to ours, and thought, well, you know, sometimes life takes you full circle right back where you started from. In the fourth and final chapter, we thought, well, you know, perhaps he could go full circle, and through all this hustle and bustle of life, he's lost himself a little bit, which in many ways parallels a lot of people's life journeys.
I used to be an ogre. Now I'm just a jolly green joke.
And everyone, he just wants to get back to that swamp. And what I thought was interesting about the final chapter is he made it. He's back at the swamp, and he's surrounded by the people that he loves and people that love him, and he's not satisfied. And again, it answers that question, what happens after happily ever after? Like, Shrek should be living happily ever after, and he's not happy. And so I think that was like a really interesting midlife crisis for Shrek to be going through. And it seemed like a natural evolution of his character. And beyond that, there's a very relatable thing that people think about of like, what if life was different? What if I didn't get married? What if I didn't have kids? What if I didn't have to work every Saturday and Sunday?
Sometimes I wish I had just one day to feel like a real ogre again.
But we, of course, see through all his grumpiness, there's a lot of love there.
And finally, he realizes he's a part of this community. He realizes everything that he's acquired, and he learns how to appreciate it. I think much like our own lives, as we grow, Shrek has done this, and I feel like it just feels like the perfect ending for all the Shrek movies.
To see how much people love Shrek has been an unbelievably satisfying experience.
What kid doesn't like Shrek? You won't find one kid that will say, "Eh."
Do the roar.
I'd rather not.
Do it.
The weird thing about being Shrek and little kids coming up to me is that they will say lines back to me that I don't even remember having said. One time, a little kid came up to me and said, "It's on my to-do list."
You didn't slay the dragon?
It's on my to-do list. Now come on.
And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And they go, you know, Shrek. Yes, I do remember him saying that.
It's just a joke.
It's been an amazing experience, and I think it's a classic. I think it's a fairy tale classic. So I'm very, very proud to be associated with it.
I think at the center of Shrek is a very big heart. He, in the end, is a very gentle and wonderful character who on the outside acts like a big, green, terrifying ogre, and yet you come to understand that inside is someone of extraordinary compassion with a very big heart.
Oh, come here,
And they lived happily
ever after.